Hi there. Hey, hey, hey. Hello, everyone. I can see you are joining now. Hello, how are you? How was your day going? Hope everything is okay. Hello, guys. Hey, thank you for joining. I hope you are ready to learn, engage, and gain valuable insights from our speaker today. Great. It's good over here in Berlin. Nice. Okay, let's get acquainted. I'm Elena Brahada and I'm social media marketing and community specialist at Serpstat, an all-in-one SEO platform. And let me tell you about our tools and the webinars. The Serpstat Search Marketing Toolbox includes more than 50 tools. With the platform, you can analyze websites and competitors, create SEO content, collect keywords, audit websites, and track rankings every day. There is also a free 7-day trial available. And why attend Serpstat webinars? We host live events featuring digital marketing experts and thought leaders, providing SEO agencies, in-house teams, and freelancers with practical advice and techniques to achieve their SEO and business goals. And today we are covering how to advance your SEO career, best ways to level up and not burn out. And let me talk a little bit about the format. It will last about 1 hour. If you wish to ask a question, you are welcome to do so. Our speaker will answer them after the presentation in Q&A. And all of you will get the webinar materials. Just don't forget to register if you haven't yet. I'll send the page to the chat. One moment, please. It's here in the chat. So it's time to meet our speaker. Hi, Morgan.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Great. I'm so glad you're speaking on such an interesting and real life topic here in Serpstat webinar. And firstly, let me introduce you briefly. Morgan Petrov is the SEO lead at charities.io, focusing on data-driven and qualitative strategies across industries such as B2B, SaaS, finance, and e-commerce industries. Her approach combines the art of user-first experiences and the science behind search. She was also one of our special guests at Serpstat Chat on Twitter with the topic of burnout syndrome in digital marketing and shared many helpful tips and practices. And as Morgan will share with us today, I believe it's going to be an extremely useful session. So, guys, prepare your questions and have fun. Morgan, here you are.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and share the presentation for today. Yeah, awesome. So, thank you again for having me today. I'm really excited to talk to everyone about how to level up your SEO career without burning out. And I'm really happy to share my personal experiences with career growth as well. So, as we mentioned, I am Morgan Petrov. I am the SEO lead at Chartis. I am in a former life, I was a content writer who got really curious with figuring out the why behind content. Why does it work, and why were we writing so much of it? But in 2020, I made a career transition and became a self taught SEO, where I officially began my career as an SEO specialist as the sole SEO at an ad agency. But Now, if there's one thing you should know about me, it is that I am a textbook Capricorn. If you are not subscribed to the co-star horoscopes or you are unfamiliar with astrology, a Capricorn by nature is a workaholic. Capricorns are known for being diligent and persistent when it comes to developing our careers. And alas, I have lived by the Capricorn code, and I've always had really rapid career success. So let's take a look at my career growth over the past few years. Again, I started off as an SEO specialist in 2020, where I was really diving into learning anything and everything there was to know about SEO. And on top of learning and managing accounts, I started building out processes that would help build the growth of the team and the service. Now, within about 9 months, I was promoted to a team lead where I continued building out the team. And then within another very fast 9 months, I was jumping into sales pitches, managing about a team of 4 to 5, all while still working on client accounts as the director of SEO. But what might not be so obvious during my rapidly advancing career were the internal struggles that I was facing. I really allowed the growing demand and pressure of the business and my accounts to outweigh my own personal needs. And I eventually lost interest in doing things that I used to love doing, like paddleboarding or playing tennis or even watering my houseplants. I kind of had this feeling of emptiness that even, my career ambitions couldn't fill. So I sought out therapy, where I was actually diagnosed with chronic burnout due to all of the work stresses. And after about a year in therapy, learning some great tools for combating that burnout and starting a new journey here at Chartis, I've been able to maintain a nice, healthy work life balance by practicing self care, and happy to say that now I have officially recovered from burnout. So I've become really passionate about sharing my own experiences with other people so they can learn from the mistakes, so to say, that I have made. Today's webinar, we are going to get a better understanding of the SEO career landscape, and then we're going to take a deeper dive into burnout and its overall impact on career progression. And also, we'll take a look at nurturing a healthy mindset for growth. And we'll also cover the importance of setting goals in order to grow your career and avoid burnout. But to get us started, let's start off by defining career advancement, just so we're all on the same page. Career advancement is the process of planning your overall career path, and it involves the processes of setting goals, developing skills, and generating the motivation to grow. Now, let's jump into understanding the SEO career landscape so that we can get more into the hows later on in the presentation. So, a traditional career trajectory in SEO has these 4 main pillars, and it's important to understand the expectations of each job level so that we know how to move towards the next level in a sustainable way that doesn't increase our overall workloads. So typically, there are these 4 main pillars that you can reach, regardless if you are in-house or if you are agency side. And within each of these 4 levels, there are also some sub-levels within each 4. And your job titles will likely vary company to company, but the skills that are required for each of these levels do not change regardless. So, as an entry level SEO, this is really a job where you're going to be building your knowledge base and your basic SEO skills. Your workload is probably going to be full of day to day tasks like exporting data and building spreadsheets. Now, it can be difficult to manage that full workload of an entry level SEO and progress your career, especially in these early stages where you're doing a lot of the day-to-day work. But if you're looking to blossom to that middle level, there are a few things that you can start doing now and integrate it into your existing responsibilities without ever having to increase the amount of work that you do. A couple things that are really helpful while you're in this entry level position are like diagnosing SEO issues and making the recommendations to fix them, and understanding it by the level of impact and urgency that it will have. And as you look towards earning your next promotion, you should also start to shift away from the day to day deliverables and rather focus on things that are more centered around building out overall strategies and projects. Now, moving into your middle level roles, the role that you play in the day to day activities are going to become more wide as you start to get away from that day to day and you begin focusing on larger scale strategies and more advanced projects. Soft skills are also going to become a requirement as you're expected to communicate more and more with stakeholders. Now, to move up to that senior level from the middle level, you can start by measuring KPIs that go far beyond just looking at organic traffic and keyword rankings in your current campaigns. So try looking at the overall impact of SEO across other marketing channels and try to understand how you can work with other teams to increase that impact. Collaborating with other teams is going to give you more experience using those soft skills. It's going to teach you complex problem solving. And it'll also even take a little bit of work off of your plate by giving it to other people and spreading out the labor across multiple teams. And this is ultimately going to prepare you for a more senior role that involves managing multiple people and multiple vendors. Now, the more senior you become in your SEO career, the more that you are going to be shifting away from those hard or the technical skills of the SEO job, and you're going to start focusing a lot more on those soft skills, which is why it's important to develop them in the earlier stages of career growth. Now, jobs like an SEO director or a senior SEO manager are extremely heavy in those people skills. Whether you are training those new hires, you're managing a team of direct reports, or you're maintaining and building client relationships. You'll also become responsible for the project management aspects of large-scale campaigns, which is where soft skills like communication and organization can really come in handy. But getting past the senior job levels can take a lot longer than the previous levels because there is that heavier focus on soft skills and you're having to learn a lot more in a way that maybe is not as cut and dry as learning the technical skills. And now moving into more of those senior levels, your role is going to shift away from SEO as a practice, and you're putting a bigger lens on the business and marketing as a whole. Now, there are two sets of expectations as an executive level SEO, your team and your agency or your business if you're in-house. However, you are looking at both of these areas on this very high level. On the team side, you're expected to oversee and improve, the overall operations of the department by managing the team's profit and losses, leading the hiring process and knowing when to act on the hiring process. And then you'll also be managing managers. So you're no longer managing direct reports and those entry-level SEOs, you are managing their managers. So really getting a top-level view of the status of the team. Now, the other side of this is improving the agency or company as a whole. You're going to be making high stakes decisions for the business and you'll be responsible for winning over the C-suites. On the agency side, you are likely going to be sourcing prospects and running sales calls, writing contracts and scopes of work. As opposed to the in-house side, you're really going to be focused more on how SEO and other marketing channels are making an impact on the business as a whole, and how to secure the resources to ensure that your team can continue achieving and working towards those business goals. Now, as much as we all would love a promotion or pay raise, sometimes it's not always the right move for our careers, especially if we maybe are already starting to feel the symptoms of burnout or just having difficulty managing our workloads and stress. And that is completely okay. There are several other ways that you can advance your career that do not require promotion, but rather they focus on advancing your skills. So, a couple of ways that you can advance your career without a promotion could potentially include things like working on more complex projects or accounts and creating measurable impact with those projects. You could also look into developing more advanced skills or even expanding your skills laterally by practicing or learning about paid advertising, getting into UX, or even expanding into another vertical of SEO if you have one that is a weaker subject for you. And a couple other ways are being a thought leader and sharing your skills with the community. That's definitely a way to progress your career overall. Mentoring others and being a mentee. And then, like I mentioned earlier, is improving those soft skills like communication, collaboration, and leadership, which is probably one of the most valuable things you can learn in order to develop your career. But now that we have an understanding of where we can grow and the expectations of each of those job levels, let's look at how we can advance our career. So this nice graphic right here is the career advancement cycle. The career advancement cycle will show us kind of the most efficient way to advance our careers by assessing our current performance, exploring our options, setting goals, developing new skills, performing and marketing those skills. But today we're going to be taking a deeper look into each of these, starting off with self-assessment. So in the assessment phase, you'll want to take note of your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you have to offer your company. Think about how well you fit into your current description. Do you check all of the boxes, or are there still a couple of things that you need to develop? Take note of that and put it in your inventory. In the assess phase, we really want to gather as much feedback, whether that are from mentors, managers, even your peers, just so you can get an outside perspective on your overall performance and development thus far, and maybe get a couple more ideas for improving and developing your career. So moving into the exploration phase, it's just as it sounds. You're going to be researching growth opportunities and potential career paths. Your company may have a list of available roles or growth paths that you can take. And if you have that, that's fantastic. Spend time really looking into the expectations and responsibilities of each of those available opportunities to see what your current skill set matches and what kind of skills you want to develop, and see which one is the best match for you. Now, in the event that your company does not have these resources available to you, it's time to take matters into your own hands. So you'll want to identify a career role model. So one of the things I like doing is going to LinkedIn and finding my career role model, someone who is in my ideal role that I want to be in a couple of years. Look at their LinkedIn history and check out what kind of jobs they have been in that led them up to their current position. Take note of the skills that they use in each of those roles and try to gauge it against your own skills and figure out what are you still missing. So now we're going to move into nurturing a healthy mindset for a second. We'll get back to the career advancement cycle, but I think there's something that we need to address, which is burnout. If you aren't familiar, burnout is a special type of stress that is caused by a state of physical or emotional exhaustion, and it typically involves a sense of reduced accomplishment or a loss of personal identity. And burnout isn't always isolated to the workplace. However, statistically speaking, work stress is one of the biggest factors that contribute to burnout. And burnout has become so common, especially since the pandemic, that it is now officially recognized as a medical diagnosis. Now, not only does burnout cause this buildup of mental and emotional stress, but it also festers a myriad of other physical symptoms such as insomnia, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and even heart disease, which can all be factors of increased cortisol levels in your body. And it's absolutely terrifying to think about. But if you have made it this far, I'm sure that you are all wondering, what does burnout even have to do with career growth? Because career advancement is typically associated with positive outcomes, but it can also bring these added responsibilities like an increased workload and higher expectations, which, without being managed properly, can lead to burnout. Because these symptoms of burnout are actively counteract the steps we take in the career advancement process, it's really critical during this stage of growth to be aware of these symptoms and the impacts of burnout so we can then take steps to manage our stress and achieve a better work-life balance, which overall is going to help us propel our careers instead of holding us back. So there was a little study done in 1981 on burnout in the workplace by Christina Maslach. She is probably one of the foremost researchers in the field of studying burnout. But her study looked at thousands of employees across several companies, and she noted that employees facing this burnout commonly reported profound emotional exhaustion, negativity directed at clients, and a crisis in feelings of their personal and professional competence. So ultimately, what that means, burnout was killing the subject's ambition, their idealism, and overall sense of worth. So think about that for a second. How can you progress your career when you lack ambition, dreams, or confidence, when those are the exact pillars that career growth is founded on? So this is why it is so important for us to recognize these symptoms of burnout so we can go ahead and stop while we're ahead. We can think about burnout symptoms into three special groups. We have physical, emotional, and behavioral. So your physical symptoms of burnout are typically going to include feeling tired and drained frequently, maybe getting sick quite often, and even changes in your sleep habits, whether that is staying up late, sleeping in, etc. Now, your emotional symptoms typically include imposter syndrome. I know SEOs, we're all very familiar with that. Feeling a lack of control or being defeated, and then also disassociation and isolation. Now, behavioral symptoms look a lot like what is referred to as quiet quitting. It may include withdrawing from work or company culture activities, maybe even unintentional procrastination that you don't even notice, or using food, alcohol, or drugs to cope with your ever-growing stresses. Now, in my personal experience, my burnout began with me just feeling so tired every morning. I used to jump out of bed at 4 a.m. for a morning workout, but once I started to, have this amount of stress just start piling up, it was difficult to even get out of bed in enough time to make breakfast before I had to log on for work. I stayed awake late into the wee hours of the night, just trying to chip away at my workload or finish writing RFPs. And I just became so overwhelmed by the agency and client demands that I completely sacrificed any and all time to work on myself and to give myself some free time away from the screen. And it really wasn't until I had someone ask me what I like to do for fun that I realized I was facing burnout, because my response to what I like to do for fun was work. So at that point, I knew that I needed to seek help from a therapist to help me understand how to manage my stress and kind of find myself again. So, what should we do if we are starting to feel some symptoms of burnout? Again, important to take action early. The most important thing you can do is prioritize your self-care, such doing things like getting regular exercise that is normal for you and your body, getting sufficient sleep, and adopting healthy eating habits, because there is such a big connection between your mind and your body. But also engaging in things like hobbies, doing things you love, socializing with friends and family, getting support from them, or simply disconnecting from screens and relaxing at the end of the day. Another thing is seeking out support and reaching out to, supervisors, mentors, colleagues, coworkers for additional guidance and support. And this is really important, especially when it comes to communicating with your manager. So that open, honest line of communication between you and your manager is so beneficial because your manager can help you figure out ways to better manage your workload, maybe deal with stressful projects, or even move some things around just so you can manage what you currently have in your hands. Also, continuous learning. When we are developing new skills and absorbing new knowledge, we can increase our self confidence and also give ourselves assurance in our strengths and knowing just how strong we really are in our skills. And the most important thing, I think, aside from all the tips that we've talked about thus far, is monitoring your stress levels. You really want to stay hyper vigilant when it comes to monitoring your stress levels. The moment that you become aware of these symptoms of stress, you'll be able to take immediate action before that burnout has really even had a chance to set in. So let's hop back to some goals for growth. So why do we set goals? We all probably know that setting goals is an important part of career development. You probably have to do these at least once or twice a year during your performance review cycles at work. Ironically, I just did mine yesterday. However, goal setting can be so overlooked and underutilized. I don't know if we understand just how important setting goals can be. Goals can actually provide you with a sense of direction and lay out where you want to go and give you those clear, actionable steps to understand how to get there. Now, goals can help give you focus, again, by helping you prioritize your usual workload along with your growth opportunities and make it even easier for you to seek out new opportunities and identify where those can come into play. And then lastly, goals provide us with milestones and those actionable steps, which is going to make tracking your progress in the long run a lot easier. And it's very satisfying when you're able to look at a list of these milestones and start checking them off and see how far you've come. Now, when we are deciding on how to choose our goals, we have to ask ourselves, what is my next role and where do I want to move to? And do I have any skill gaps that are holding me back? What kind of skills do I need to develop to get to that next level? And once you have identified what skills you need to learn, you can then go through and start to build out a roadmap, which will help you break those objectives or those focus areas into smaller, more manageable steps. It's going to give you a much clearer picture of what you need to do and roughly how much time each of these little steps are going to take, which for me, I find super helpful when I'm charting out my career path and my goals. So I know kind of about how much time to dedicate to advancement versus maintaining my current workloads. You know it, you love it, SMART goals. If you are not familiar with SMART goals, this is a framework that helps make goals that are clear and attainable and genuinely meaningful to your career and your company. So SMART goals are defined by their core components, which are being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You can see over here to the side of the screen, I have kind of what a goal typically looks like, just to give you kind of a frame of reference. However, there's a little aside that I like to use, a couple of new components that I add to the SMART system. So the first being a North Star. This is what I find to be really helpful when we are not just doing goals on a regular basis, but when we're doing goals to get to that next level in our career. So your North Star is going to be the phase of your career growth to get you to that next level. So in this case, it has become an SEO manager. Now, it's not necessary to include your North Star on your formal goal setting when you do it with your company. However, it is a really good practice just to make your manager aware of your ambitions. And that way they can help you grow into that role or provide you with resources maybe you didn't know about. Now, the next component will be your actual SMART goal. You see that right after goal 1 and goal 2. And each goal should be a focus area that helps you accomplish that North Star. So we're starting to build like this triangle pyramid shape with our goals. And then last but not least are those milestones that you planned out while you are making your career roadmap. And these are going to give you those actionable steps that will help you reach the goals. By reaching the goals, you reach your North Star. So great way to develop like a laser focus on getting to the next level. Now, let's go ahead and dive into our growth opportunities and challenges. Now, there is a fine line between burnout and career growth. However, developing a growth mindset is something we can do that will actually act as a preventative measure against burnout. Now, someone with a growth mindset typically views intelligence, abilities, and talents as something that is learnable and capable of improvements. With a growth mindset, you can really see the world through a new lens and you see everything kind of as this learning experience and a way to propel yourself forward. Even burning out in this case can be seen as a learning opportunity with a growth mindset. But taking the next step in your career can be really scary, especially when there is so much that is unknown about the future. And that fear of the unknown can be really uncomfortable. But that fear is 100% normal. We just have to know how we are going to break out of our comfort zone and start advancing towards the learning and the growth zone so that we can reach our full potential and adapt that growth mindset. So we all start out in the comfort and the fear zones. We are comfortable in our current roles, but maybe we aren't satisfied. Maybe we complain because we could improve the auditing process, or we think that an automation tool could save a lot of time and busy work. But when we're stuck in this comfort and this fear zone, we're afraid of speaking up. We're self-conscious of what others may think if we try to change the situation or take charge or make a change. And that is completely normal. But once we identify those fears, we can also face those same fears. With a growth mindset, we know that we can expand our comfort zones and seek new opportunities, because even if we fail, we still fail forward and we still learn valuable lessons that are going to benefit us. So this growth mindset approach encourages us to master new skills, seek curiosity over our own conviction, and ultimately work towards those ambitious goals that we're setting for our careers. Now, there are a lot of ways that we can use the growth mindset when we're advancing our careers. However, I think that there are 4 that particularly work well in the SEO industry, which is failing forward, building your network, and taking risks, as well as continuous learning. So we're going to take a deeper look into each of these. So I've been mentioning failing forward, and honestly, it is the best thing you can do to advance your career. There are so many incredible lessons to be learned through failure. In fact, I have a hilarious one that I'm going to share. In 2021, when the page experience update came out, I convinced a client to spend a very large chunk of their budget to improve their page speed. Now, looking back, my client's page speed was comparable to that of their competitors, but given the hype that surrounded this update, I was convinced that this was extremely urgent, and I started pushing this client to make changes to their page speed overall. So once it was implemented, they started to ask about their ROI, and I started to look at their analytics and notice nothing really changed. Keyword positionings were pretty stagnant, and the competitors also weren't improving their page speed. What I learned in the next few months to come is that page speed was not actually going to be the end all be all when it came to ranking. And admittedly, at first, I was super embarrassed about this because I saw so many famous SEOs on Twitter bragging about how just a couple of page speed optimizations brought so much success to them, and I wasn't seeing that same success. But I still had to be transparent with the client, let them know the results, or the lack thereof of results, and tell them that this was really a learning experience for all of us. And in the end, the page speed didn't make any impact, but what it did do is that it allowed us to really narrow down what was the actual issue for the website and why it wasn't performing well. And turns out it was content all along. But what I really learned during this entire experience was the importance of prioritizing technical fixes based on the level of impact that those fixes would have, and how to prioritize your time, budget, and resources towards fixes that are actually going to move the needle for a client's metrics rather than just checking off all the boxes of a website audit. And if you can't learn from my experiences, take it from Thomas Edison. He had 1,000 failed attempts at creating the light bulb before he built the one. So continuous learning is also very important for SEOs, just given the nature of our industry. It requires us to stay up to date with the latest technology, the latest algorithm updates, and any and all trends that are happening across the entire ecosystem of the web in order to stay competitive. And without continuously learning and advancing our skill sets, frankly, our jobs would be very boring and our skills would probably be outdated within a week, more or less. So there's no shortage of learning resources for SEO either. In fact, I have compiled a list of my favorite resources for learning, and I encourage you guys to check it out after today's presentation, ranging from news to skills and even podcasts and experiences. There's something for everyone to learn here in my resource list. So our journey doesn't have to be a solitary one all by ourselves. Building a strong professional network and seeking mentorship and others can really foster career growth and provide you with invaluable support when you have challenges arise. You can also learn from others and their experiences and understanding what worked for their sites and what approaches didn't work. Now, another great thing you can do while building up your network is seeking out an industry mentor for additional guidance and support. I actually recently completed the mentorship program with Women in Tech SEO back in March of this year. And through my fabulous mentor support, Laura really helped me discover so much just about myself that, funny enough, I was not even aware of, such as, discovering my passions and just knowing the direction that I wanted to grow in my career, my personal life too. So your network can also be full of opportunities for collaboration, such as partnering with peers on research projects or joining podcasts. And matter of fact, by having Serpstat in my network, that's how I was able to get the opportunity to speak to you all today. So the last one is taking calculated risks. Now, this sounds absolutely terrifying, but I promise it's a really great practice. There is this old saying, you never know until you try. And I truly believe that this applies to anything SEO related, whether you're testing out a new type of content or maybe you're experimenting with schema. You just don't know until you try. So stepping outside of your comfort zone and experimenting with those new techniques or skills can really foster those innovative ideas that can move the needle for your clients. You can use data and research to minimize uncertainty, like up to a point, but ultimately the only way to know for sure what will work and what will not is through experimentation and failing forward. The worst that can happen is that you learn from your mistakes and you learn what works for your website and what does not. But regardless of the outcome, you're going to be learning something new. Now, lastly, let's address one critical aspect of a thriving career, which is maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Now, it is super important to set boundaries, not only with others, but also with yourself. First off, you need to have a really clear understanding of what your current workload looks like, your daily responsibilities, and then have an understanding of how much you can take on at one time. Understanding what a heavy workload looks like and what a sustainable workload looks like will help you set limits and understand when you need to push due dates back or you need to delay a project or pass it on to someone else. Making sustainable plans for growth and understanding how goals and those milestones fit into your overall workload and your projects. Again, that's going to help you start to achieve your goals without really having to ever increase the number of hours you have to work each week. Another great tip is to review your contracts or your job responsibilities. This is really helpful when it comes to clients who maybe are scope creeping or asking for things that maybe are outside of your scope of work, or even being assigned duties that are outside of your role if you are in house. It definitely helps you figure out what you need to prioritize and what you do not. Next is setting clear expectations. Again, this is kind of going back to having a clear understanding of your workload. But lastly, learning to say no and maintaining your boundaries. Boundaries are called boundaries because people are going to always want to push against them. So, learning how to stick to yourself and your boundaries is going to be super important. Pay attention to your physical, mental, and emotional well being. We covered this earlier, but just continue to monitor for signs of burnout and take action when you notice the onset of those stress symptoms. And I cannot stress this enough, but take your breaks and take your time off. Add them to your calendar, but we all need rest and relaxation. And most often, burnout is caused from people not taking the time that they need to fully recoup. Now, managing your time wisely is also going to be key when it comes to having that nice work life balance. So, adopt some time management strategies and understand how your time is being spent. Understand, are you spending too much time with clients? Are you spending too much time pulling data? What are things that we can delegate to other people to save our time? And how do we get it done? And lastly, understand that time is a limited resource. We are SEOs. We are not saving lives and we're not building rockets. Some things will have to wait because there's just a limited number of hours in a day and in a work week. And that's okay. So, with all of these combined, you should be able to achieve this nice, healthy work life balance and still be able to achieve your career goals. But once again, thank you so much for attending this webinar today. I hope that you all were able to walk away with some helpful insights into advancing your career and managing your stress levels and preventing burnout. Please feel free to connect with me on my socials. But with that being said, I'll pass it back over to Alina.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Your presentation was so informative and even motivative. Thank you. And before getting to Q&A, let me tell our attendees about how Serpstat can help here. There are some options to boost your skills with Serpstat. At first, it's Serpstat Academy. It includes the complete SEO Starter course from beginner to professional. There you will find out how search engines index and rank web pages, how to set SEO goals and key performance indicators, and much more. And for the duration of the course, you may use a promo code inside the course for free access to the key Serpstat tools for 2 weeks. And one more opportunity: when you become paid user, there are available one-on-one training and result-driven sessions. This can be live SEO best practices and how to apply SEO data to grow your business, or short question answer sessions. And we strive to find the smartest and most effective solution to your problem, be it a technical issue or workflow automation task. We value your time and appreciate yours. So just let us know how we can help you. And of course, join our Serpstat chats on Twitter and Serpstat webinars, and follow our blog posts. All the resources will be mailed to you tomorrow with the recording and the presentation. So, Morgan, let's answer some questions from our audience. Guys, leave your questions in the live chat. We still have some time before answering them. And let's get started with the questions you sent us before the webinar. So, the first question is what are the best ways to deal with imposter syndrome and self-doubt in a SEO career?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I personally think that the best ways that you can really combat imposter syndrome is through that continuous learning and that continuous education. Um, and that just gives you the ability to equip yourself with as much knowledge as you possibly can, and prove your skills. Now, another thing that I personally have found to be really helpful when it comes to battling imposter syndrome with myself, I have a notebook, and I wish I could pull it out quickly, but I think it's buried in my desk. But I keep this notebook that has all of my accomplishments for the month in it. And anytime that I do anything that produces results, or I think is a really good idea, or maybe I got a praise from a client, I just sit there and I write it down in my journal. And anytime that I do start to feel those that sensation of imposter syndrome creeping up on you, or I start doubting my skills and my abilities, I just refer back to that notebook and I remind myself of all the things that I am capable of doing and that I have delivered in the past. And that really has made such a big difference in just the way that I view my skills.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing your experience. And we have a question from Angela. What specific technical skills do you recommend the SEO professionals focus on to level up their careers?
Yeah, of course. That is another really great question, and this really is going to depend on where you are in your SEO journey. Whether you are at the early stages of your career and you're just getting started. If you are getting started, I definitely recommend Blue Array Academy. I think that they have a really fantastic technical SEO course that goes through just the basics of SEO and understanding how crawling and indexing works. And then these core components like canonicalization and index tags, robots directives, things like that, just your very base level things, because you can take that level of knowledge and then start to apply it to your own experiences. And then again, kind of start to develop your own theories or your own beliefs, and knowing what works for your site. However, other technical skills, if you kind of are on more of the advanced side, I definitely would recommend just looking into overall, like building out UX of websites. I think more and more UX is becoming a big component of SEO. So it really just kind of depends on where you are in your journey. But worst comes to worst, I think the best way to learn tech SEO is just having your own website and tinkering around with it.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Um, okay. Oh, I can see one more question from Angela. Can you share some strategies for negotiating salary or fees?
Oh, yeah, that could be a webinar in and of itself. And again, it depends on if you're coming at it as an employee who's negotiating for their salary, or if you are, the manager and you're negotiating an employee's salary. The best thing I can say is to go and do your research on what your current market value is, and what people with your level of experience are being paid at companies that are near you. I actually did this in a previous role, and I was living in Dallas at the time. So I looked at major companies that were hiring SEO managers or SEO directors, and I tried to see what they were paying. And I came to my salary negotiating meeting with all the research in my hand so that I could justify, what am I worth? I think also this is why doing your performance reviews are so important, so that you can prove the impact that you have had on the organization and the kind of results that you have brought to your clients or to your business. So you can use that to kind of fuel your salary negotiation conversation.
Okay, thank you. It seems like we've covered all the questions, and I think your presentation was full of useful tips and all the questions covered in advance. Thank you very much. So, Morgan, is there anything you wanted to add before wrapping up?
I don't think so. I just want to thank everybody again, just for attending, and I hope that you all have taken some really insightful tips and tricks away, please feel free to connect with me on social. I am Morgan Searches on Twitter and almost every other platform. But thanks for attending, everyone.
Yeah, great. I like it. Thanks a lot. Guys, follow Serpstat's social media too and join Serpstat chat on Twitter. There we discuss SEO related topics with digital marketers. All the information is on our Serpstat profile on Twitter. And once again, Morgan, thank you for your thoughtful presentation. It was great. And guys, thank you for watching, asking questions, for being engaged. Enjoy the week ahead and take care. Goodbye.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.